Greetings and welcome to the Dr. J Vlog series. It is Friday, June 20th, 2025, and on Fridays we talk about human behavior and justifications. And as you can tell from my lovely hat, this is a special Friday. Why? Well, today, Friday, June 20th at 10:42 p.m. marks the official start of summer. That's right, happy summer, at least in the northern hemisphere. So this is the summer solstice. And it's the longest day of the year when the sun ends up being at the highest point in the sky based on the Earth's tilt of 23.5 degrees. And of course, correspondingly, it's the shortest night of the year. So why not take advantage of that tiny little extra bit of sunlight today and hopefully spend a bit more time outside, if possible. And that, by the way, happens to be the main focus of the Dr. J Vlog series this week. That is the sun. And so I've discussed the sun from a variety of different perspectives, mostly emphasizing the benefits, and especially as the sun is the ultimate source of our energy, as well as some important scientific principles governing the sun. And just anecdotally or personally, growing up, I spent as much time as possible outdoors in the sun. In fact, most of my waking hours as a child growing up, especially during the warmer months, was spent outdoors. And I'd turn quite brown by the end of the summer. So that was always kind of a good thing, or it was kind of a goal, something that we look forward to. And yet in the last few decades, well, we've been warned consistently about the perils of spending too much time in the sun. And the risks, of course, include premature aging of our skin, possible eye damage, and greater risk of cataracts, sunburn, and ultimately, of course, the increased risk of skin cancer, especially melanoma, due to the exposure to ultraviolet light, UV light. There are also other concerns or risks associated with too much time in the sun, especially dehydration, the possibility of heat exhaustion, or even heat stroke when the body's temperature regulation system fails. Now, some of these issues, those latter ones in particular, are easier to deal with than others, such as staying well hydrated, for example, as a general rule, right? And protecting yourself from overheating by taking regular breaks or by dialing back the intensity of your activities. But the risks associated with UV light exposure require a bit more preparation and planning on our part these days. So since we can't see or feel UV light, it's hard to know just how strong it is or what the effect that it's having or might be having. So summer heat then it also isn't a very good indicator because UV radiation might also be present when it's cold outside. The heat from the sun isn't from the UV light, but rather it's from the infrared light in the sun's rays. Okay, so from a human behavioral standpoint, how do we determine and justify just how much time we should be spending in the sun? Well, first, again, we have to remember that UV radiation itself actually contains two types, both UVA and UVB rays, both of which can damage your skin. So the UVA rays penetrate your skin more deeply, causing your skin cells to age prematurely. And about 95% of UV rays that reach the ground are actually UVA rays. The other 5% are UVB rays. They have higher energy levels due to their shorter wavelengths. And these typically damage the outermost layers of our skin, causing the sunburn. And these rays directly can damage your DNA and are the cause of most skin cancers. So beware. Now, the higher in the sky that the sun is, the stronger the UVB radiation on Earth. And this is both true in terms of the sun's position over the course of the day, being highest at midday roughly, and in terms of your geographical location. So UVA radiation, for example, is particularly high close to the equator. And that's why, of course, it's recommended that you minimize your direct exposure to the sunlight, say from roughly 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. But we can be more specific in terms of our understanding of the sun and how you can respond behaviorally in healthier ways and protect yourself. So consider, for example, the UV index. Now, this is quite important. The UV index, or UVI, measures the current intensity of UVB radiation in a given location. And so the higher the current UV index rating, the higher the radiation levels, and the more likely you are then to get a sunburn and, put yourself at higher risk. In general, there's a simple scalar breakdown of the UVI such that 0 to 2 represents low intensity, anywhere from 3 to 5 is moderate intensity, and then above that you've got to really be careful. 6 to 7 is considered high intensity, 8 to 10 would be very high, and 11 would be extremely high. So again, you can get that from your typical weather reports or your local information, wherever you happen to be living. Again, the higher the UV index then, or the higher the reading, the more protection you're going to need. UV radiation in particular is highest in mountainous regions and at the equator, and in the regions where the ozone layer is particularly thin, like in Australia. In most places, UVB radiation is at its strongest, as I mentioned, between about 11 in the morning and 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Again, it depends on the sun's position. Thick clouds can help. They can reduce UV radiation, but thin clouds don't really provide much protection at all. All right, so how much UV radiation can your skin handle? Intensive and frequent sunbathing, in contrast to the advice I was given growing up, should be avoided. We used to have competitions among my friends and myself. You'd see who can get the darkest the fastest. Not the smartest activity to engage in. But then again, there were a lot of dumb activities we engaged in as teenagers that we certainly wouldn't consider now. Maybe you as well. Now, what you can do is gradually increase your UV exposure over a period of a few weeks and expose your skin to moderate UV radiation. And if you do that in a responsible way, you can actually achieve a base tan, shall we say, that makes the corneal layer of your skin a bit thicker and provides a bit more protection from the sun. So just bear in mind that this natural UV protection can prevent sunburn to some extent, but it can't protect you from the different types of damage that are caused by too much UV light exposure, and it cannot prevent skin cancer in the long run. So you've got to be careful. And the skin that we have, the skin of different people, varies tremendously, obviously. That's why we love to talk about our backgrounds and where we're from, and we often distinguish people in terms of racial characteristics and that sort of thing. So it really depends on how fair your skin is. This is a major determinant of what you can stand, shall we say. So UVA radiation for very fair-skinned people starts to kick in within 5 to 10 minutes of exposure. And for most of us, we really shouldn't be exposed for more than about 20 to 30 minutes in the sun without some kind of protection. Now, however, it really, as I say, depends on your skin type. And so what is your skin type? So what I've done here is I've created just a little chart. Hopefully you can see this, that determines, is this showing up? Yeah, I think it's showing up. There we go. That determines what your skin type is based on some various characteristics. I hope you can see that. Probably not if you're looking at this or listening to this on a phone. And then also the UVA radiation levels that will lead to sunburn or within X number of minutes. So again, you can see from the chart there are 6 different skin types ranked in order from fairest, very light skin, skin type 1, very light skin, often with freckles, reddish or strawberry blonde hair, blue or gray eyes. UV radiation leads to sunburn within 10 minutes. And your skin doesn't really tan. So that's at one end of the continuum, one end of the spectrum. And then skin type 6 is dark brown or black skin, black hair, dark brown eyes. And under those conditions, UV radiation only leads to sunburn after about an hour, and your skin doesn't really become darker. It is what it is. All right, so again, check that out if you want to see where you are. But as I say, the most important point there is what's the level of UV radiation that you're able to endure based on your skin type. All right. In general, though, I just want to mention you should definitely ignore the lyrics from that song by the group America, A Horse with No Name. Do you remember that one? And they sing, after 2 days in the desert sun, my skin began to turn red. Well, it's going to turn red a lot sooner than that. So be sure you've got sufficient sunblock when you are outdoors, and certainly if you're heading to the desert. Uh, but especially again during the peak hours, and remember, even if the sun's behind the clouds, it's not necessarily going to afford you that much protection, at least from the UV rays. All right. So yeah, I've been sunburned on many occasions when I've been outdoors, even in the on a cloudy day, a lightly cloudy day at least. But again, for your own physical, mental, and emotional health, make sure you get out in the sun today. Wear a hat if necessary. I borrowed this from my wife. I think it looks pretty good on me, doesn't it? Anyway, and ideally get out there every day, at least for a period of time, okay? And every day as well, may you and yours continue to create peace in your lives, nurture love in your hearts, and dole out hugs in abundance. Happy summer!